Why you didn't her?
Oh my god.
I really don't understand. Is there some issue with your penis?
What? What? That is probably the most inappropriate and shocking thing a daughter can ask their stepdad. It crosses just about every boundary, doesn't it? Literally no one on that stage can believe what they've just heard. But something else that shocks everyone is the accusation that Tatha is levelling against James.
Coba ceritanya sama si James.
Kenapa?
Menurut tuh si James tuh apa sih kayak selingkuh gitu jatuhnya.
How has that not come up already? Like, how is this the first that we're hearing about that? Well, before we dive into whatever it is exactly that Tatha is accusing her husband of, let's kick off proceedings with Josh and Lily. So we haven't really heard all that much from them in the first part of the tell-all, but the last we saw them on the season, they'd just had their Chinese wedding ceremony. So with Josh now in the studio in the States, and Lily joining by video call from China, could that be a clue that something isn't quite right with their relationship? Well, for as much as Josh tries to reassure us that everything's okay, he's only here because he's got a family event to attend to. That story starts to unravel when Josh's brother Jared comes on stage. And just check how excited Lily is to see him.
Yes, I miss you.
We miss you too.
Oh, very sweet.
I miss you so much.
Her face lit up way more when she saw him than when she saw Josh. Wow.
Josh and Lily, husband and wife, have barely said a word to each other all tell-all, and yet when Jared comes on stage, she starts saying things like, "You're so handsome, Jared." It's a lot, it really is a lot, and her enthusiasm causes whispers to immediately start. "Is that the reason you guys aren't having sex?" we hear one of the castmates sarcastically murmur off screen. Now, as we saw from Jared's time on the show, he seemed like a really nice guy, the kind of guy who isn't just gonna blindly take Josh's side. He was fair, he was impartial, he stood up for Lily countless times. And again today, when quizzed, he admits they do both have a lot of things they need to work on. Their marriage isn't great, but, he says, don't write them off yet. It's not all doom and gloom.
That's what's so awesome about having this conversation. The fact that we're creating this awareness.
You are the optimist. You are the. you can be a motivational speaker.
A motivational speaker or a diplomat, as Sapa chimes in. Jared's certainly enthusiastic, he's certainly a bundle of positivity, but he is also firmly sitting on the fence. He's not willing to call either of them out. He's not willing to pin the blame on Josh or Lily. But don't you worry, because there is someone who's more than willing to point fingers. And it's at that point that Lily's daughter Vivian is introduced.
You said at first that you did not believe this marriage would last. How do you feel today?
Oh, no. Do you know?
Yeah, Vivian's opinion about her stepdad haven't changed in the slightest. She's still very clear about how she feels about him. No sitting on the fences with this one. Now, given how close Vivian and Lily have told us they are, it's probably safe to assume that Vivian has the inside scoop. She knows a lot more intimate details about their relationship than we do. But much to everyone's utter shock and embarrassment, second-hand embarrassment, Vivian doesn't seem to mind sharing everything.
Why you didn't her?
Oh my god.
I really don't understand. Is there some issue with your penis?
Again, I said it at the start and I'll say it again. That isn't the kind of thing you normally say to a step-parent. It's wild. It's wild that she'd bring this up on TV. I mean, who here amongst us wants to know anything about our parents' sex lives? It's just such a firm boundary, such a taboo. I don't know, maybe someone in the comments can let me know. Maybe it's just a Western attitude I have. Maybe the culture in China is different. Maybe it's okay to talk about that. But whatever the case, clearly Clearly, sex continues to be a big problem for Josh and Lily. They've been married for a few years now, and don't forget, they were married when we first met them on this show. And yet, in all that time, in all those years, they've only had sex a handful of times. It's not exactly the sign of a healthy marriage, especially as Lily has told us she's unhappy with this. So it's left to Josh to try and explain himself.
Because I wanted to be more than just angry sex. I wanted to be more emotional. I want us to be truly happy and loving in that moment to do it.
Now, everyone on the stage disagrees with Josh. That isn't the best approach to take, especially when your wife is desperate for some intimacy. It doesn't have to be special every single time, everyone tells him. Like, just the very act of doing it, being intimate together, helps to create those special loving moments. I mean, at this point, you have to ask the question, if Josh has been looking for more than just angry sex, as he puts it, and yet that opportunity, calm sex, has only arisen 4 or 5 times in multiple years, does that mean that these two are basically spending all of their time being angry at each other, fighting? Because if so, then that seems exhausting. That's a huge issue. And for what it's worth, Vivian isn't exactly buying Josh's explanation either.
What is your response?
There is no excuse. If you want a woman, you will do. Okay?
Look, for as much as her delivery is wild, there is truth to what Vivian is saying. There does have to be a reason, physical, mental, or otherwise, why they're not doing it more often. Now, thankfully, much to Josh's relief, I'm sure, Sean steers the conversation away from their sex life and instead onto what Vivian thinks of Josh. Do you think of him as family, as your stepdad? She asks her. And once again, her response is pretty wild.
Sometimes I think he's cute when we play Lego together. But I think Josh is just like Lily's son.
I feel like me and Josh are the same age, she goes on to say, which must come as a blow to Josh's ego. Like, of course, it's good that they're spending time together, but saying that he acts like a child, equating him to a little kid in her mum's home, isn't exactly a ringing endorsement of his character, is it? Yeah, Vivian isn't pulling any punches, and in fact, she then turns to her mum and drops yet another bombshell.
I am surprised that you are still in the relationship because the few days ago you text me, you are getting divorced.
Now, this comes as a shock to everyone except the couple themselves. Lily admits that she did ask for a divorce, but she didn't mean it. And Josh adds to that by saying, this isn't new. She's done this before. I've heard this a bunch of times already. I'm getting tired of it, he tells us. I'm getting numb to these threats. So this time, he says, when she threatened me with divorce again, I actually took action.
So you actually filed?
Well, I reached out to an attorney.
You reached out to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
He understood this. You are serious then?
Yes.
That's a pretty big step, isn't it? And Sean wants to know the other side of the story. What led to this? She asks Lily. What led you to ask for a divorce again? And it's at this point that Lily reveals she was actually in the States a few days ago. You see, she may be joining on video call now. She may have returned to China, but it sounds like her intention was to come to the tell-all in person. Only a few days ago, at Josh's parents' anniversary, they had a pretty big disagreement. What happened? Well, she tells us they had a fight and he kicked her out of the family home. He asked her to stay at a hotel.
去参加他爸爸妈妈的婚礼，回到家2天之后，我给家事说，可能我们的婚姻可能没有办法继续前行。
Josh!
Now, again, given that Vivian stated this all happened a few days ago, you've got to imagine that the plan all along must have been for Lily to be here in person today. But the fact that things got so bad, the fact that he kicked her out of his family home, the fact that she booked a ticket, went back to China and told him she wanted a divorce, really speaks volumes about the state of their marriage. Now, the thing is, both of them dispute the other's version of events. Each claim that the other is lying, so we don't get any clarification about the argument or who was at fault. But having heard this, everyone on stage is taken aback and they actually ask the pair, do you two even like each other? Forget love. Do you even like each other? You never seem to have anything good to say about each other. You both always look so miserable. And to that, Vivian wholeheartedly agrees.
I really want my mom happy, but sometimes the person is not right.
True, very true. And for what it's worth, everyone on the stage, except maybe for Jared, seems to think that these two are never gonna be happy together. Everyone thinks this relationship might have run its course. But what about the couple themselves? Well, surprisingly, after the studio segment ends, when all the cast go backstage, one of the producers, as she's wrapping up the video call with Lily, asks her this question.
你想和他在一起？
我现在的心态应该是，也有另外一个方面，他可能
It's not exactly a ringing endorsement, but Lily seems to live in this perpetual state of uncertainty, doesn't she? Practically since the very first episode, she's been oscillating back and forth about whether or not this marriage will last. But, in a bid to try and get some clarity, she asks the producer to go and fetch Josh. I'd like to talk to him, she says. So the producer hurriedly rushes backstage and goes and brings Josh out. I was so jealous as I looked around and saw all of those happy couples on stage today, Lily says. I really wish that could have been us. I still believe it can be us, she says. And just like that, seduced by the vision, the allure of everyone else, Lily seems to talk herself out of the uncertainty she had only a few minutes ago.
I have a dream. We are hand in hand, great old Josh, my husband. Let's go for it. Okay?
We got it. We can do it. I love you.
So I guess the divorce is off again. They end things on a happy note. Josh even hugs the TV monitor. But we're all wondering, the question is, how long will this last? Now, another couple you could also ask that question about is James and Tatha. In part 1 of the tell-all, we saw how much drama Tatha's sister was bringing to their marriage. But this week, we learn that jealousy is another big problem the pair face.
You are not allowed to have any female friends.
I'm only allowed to have male friends, yes.
And
okay. All of my female friends that I did have when we first met are gone from my life.
So no.
James explains that this was his choice. He willingly chose to distance himself from the women he used to be friends with because he knew that Tatha didn't like it. I know she wouldn't want me to talk to other women about our marriage, he says. And for as noble as that sounds, something tells me this new development might have arisen after Tatha told him off for telling her friend he didn't want kids before telling her. Now, while it might sound a little extreme, the worst is yet to come, because now we get to see a never-before-seen clip.
Ada apa ceritanya sama si James?
Kenapa?
Menurut si James tuh apa sih kayak selingkuh gitu jatuhnya.
What? Where has this come from? And why has it been cut out of their storyline this season? Well, it soon becomes apparent that yet again, as usual, Tatha has blown this out of all proportion. What she's just defined as cheating, we later come to learn, was actually just James looking at social media. He was watching videos of girls dancing in bikinis.
Jadi dia tuh nonton video cewek lagi joget-joget.
It's a big fuss about nothing, as usual with Tatha, and the rest of the cast simply don't agree with her that that constitutes a betrayal.
Let me ask the cast, who here thinks James cheated?
No.
Nope.
No. Absolutely not. I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not cheating. Is it stupid? Yes, it's definitely stupid, especially ironically considering James was just saying he can't be friends with girls. Like, he should definitely know better than to ogle them online. But it's definitely not cheating. It's not, sorry. And James wants us to know he's now learnt his lesson. He now understands he can't ever do that again. Yeah, good little puppy dog. He's well and truly under the thumb, isn't he? She says jump, he says how high.
How did you fix this?
I deleted that social media, and I did apologize for it. I have apologized since.
That seems like a pretty extreme response, James. Rather than just unfollow those accounts, the poor guy's been made to delete entire social media platforms. Like, at this point, I think we can all agree, James has no backbone. Little by little, Tatha is breaking this man down. She dictates what he can watch, who he can be friends with, and whether or not her evil sister can come and live with them for 6 months. He's just got to go with it, foot the bill, otherwise he's in for another Tatha temper tantrum. I've now given her all of my passwords, says James, and Sarpa can't believe what he's hearing. James, you've done nothing wrong, Sarpa says to him. Women might not understand it, but it really isn't a big deal when we guys look at women.
I see 2 boobs, 1 butt there. Nothing individual, not as a whole.
So you're objectifying women.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Sarpa's the one that you want defending you. Now, as oblivious as Sarpa is, James and Tatha have now moved on from that incident. And they also reveal that their plan is to return back to Indonesia, perhaps in as little as 6 months. Again, that has Tatha dictating her will stamped all over it, doesn't it? I just can't see how the experience James just fled from living in Indonesia has now left him desperate to go back again. It doesn't quite add up. And sadly, I think no matter how much this guy bends backwards to Tatha's demands, whatever he ends up doing, she's just the kind of lady that's always gonna overreact and find problems with everything. And the parting glimmer of hope is that maybe, just maybe, James might have now realised this.
Just wish one thing would be easy for us. Just wish one thing would work out right. Right now, I cannot make her happy. There's nothing I can do about it. And that's what just tears me apart every day right now.